What's up guys, Coach Joe here at the Lions Den, and today we're going to be talking about the bench press, and specifically one common error I always see people, especially beginners, when benching. Now I've made videos in the past that link common mistakes, so what I'm going to do is just put it right up here for you guys to watch. Like I said, this is going to dial in just one of those, and something I've been seeing a lot more common, especially happening in my gym, that we're gonna work on correct. I also want to add on top of this, I'm super guilty of doing this, and what we're gonna do is watch a video from the past and see if you guys can pick out what I'm talking about. Oh man, that's ugly. There's actually a lot wrong with that, but we're gonna just try to pay attention to the one thing that I'm talking about. If you're wondering, that one thing is gonna be the Mark Bell head lift when benching. So let's go back years ago when I really was getting into benching. I would just go into the YouTubes and type in how to bench. And at the time, Mark Bell was one of the biggest people on the YouTubes talking about benching. He obviously has a company and his tagline is how much you bench. He's created the slingshot and a very successful powerlifter in his career and time. When I would watch him, he constantly would bring the bar down and raise his head as he was bench pressing. And I figured if Mark Bell could bench
1,000 pounds,
then I could too. So for the next several years, I kept raising my head when benching and almost bouncing the bar off of my chest, which was a whole other problem, but typically I would always be raising my noggin up. It wasn't until I started sending my videos to get reviewed by other coaches, one of the most common things that they had told me was keep your head down when you're benching. Now this was kind of different for me because I was used to Mark Bell always raising his head, and now I have tons of coaches who are telling me to keep my head down so I can keep tension throughout my setup. Now if a lot of them are saying this, I wanted to give it a try and see what happened. After a lot of trial and error, I realized that keeping my head down is going to be better for me personally, and I feel like a lot of athletes out there when performing to get the best optimal bench. And the reason being for that is when you're getting into your bench setup, you want to really try to build as much tension in your body as possible. And the way we do that is by keeping our feet on the ground somehow, whether it's your toes or your entire foot, then getting the arch in your lower back. That's going to go up to your shoulders, where we want to make sure that we have our shoulders retracted and tight on the bench while keeping our head down. That is going to keep a whole chain of tension from the feet all the way to the shoulder blades. Now, as you can see, if you tend to lift your head as you're descending with the barbell, you're taking one link of that chain and you're kind of just throwing the whole thing off. And when it comes down to keeping your bench as tight as possible and as optimal as possible, especially going for, a heavy set of a single to a double or a triple, those little things are going to make a big difference. Sorry, it sounds better, doesn't it? So in my personal experience and with coaching athletes, now I have them always make sure that they keep their head down on the bench, and it seems to work out a lot better. One thing you also want to take into consideration that why Mark Bell did this is because he was wearing a heavy geared benching shirt, and that's just tons of elasticity in that shirt as he's descending to help him put up crazy amounts of weight, where there's so much force and tension developed that it's going to have his head lift up a little bit. Now, if you are a geared powerlifter and that's allowed in the organization, that's completely fine. But typically, in a lot of powerlifting organizations, you have to keep your head down on the bench or it'll be labeled a no lift. But if you don't care about performance and you're just a typical gym rat who wants to get a good pump in the gym, I'm fine with that and I totally don't care. However, you've already made it to the end of the video, so I appreciate it, so just give it a like and a thumbs up. Hopefully you're subscribed to the channel. I guess we'll see how that came out.